Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sean Kokoska, founder and president of Icon Coaching. And gang, today we are interviewing a real icon in our industry. It's Greg Harrelson. Now, Greg and his team, they closed 2,012 transactions last year alone, gang. By the way, Greg closed over 200 by himself without making a single outbound lead generation phone call. Guys, he's a master of his database. He understands how to nurture prospects through all phases of buying or selling real estate. And today he's going to show us exactly how he does that. Now, before we begin, let me just show you a couple of things here real quick. Icon Coaching, there's several ways to get in touch with us, gang. If you want a little bit of help, you can reach out to us at the phone number here. You can email us at grow@iconcoachinre.com. And of course, visit our website at iconcoachinre.com. And the RE, of course, stands for real estate. By the way, today you're going to hear some things and you're going to think, I want to implement that, or I want to deploy that within my organization. And you might think, well, how can I do that? And I'll tell you, one of the most effective ways, gang, to make that happen is simply engage in a free strategy session. There is no cost to this. And either myself or one of our consultants here will get you to rate yourself on 10 points of business development, leadership, and productivity. And they'll share with you the models, the systems, and tools on how you can bridge any gaps that we discover. So here's how you do it. And by the way, we only have the bandwidth to take just 20 of you. So the sooner you text this, the better off it'll be for all of us, and it'll be a little smoother. So text Icon Strategy, all one word, Icon Strategy, to this 5-digit phone number if you're in the US. It's 72727. And then if you're in Canada, it's a 6-digit number. It's 555-444. And again, it's Icon Strategy to 72727. And here we go. I want to just bring your attention to some of the future icons of the month. We've got Rhonda and Frank Duffy. They're going to join us on May 4th. Brian North on June 1st. Mark Spain, July 13th. And Craig Northrop on August 3rd. So gang, when you go to iconcoachinre.com, just click on all future webinars and just register for all of them. That way you'll be notified as to when they'll be, and you'll learn the proven best practices from those people that are out there actually doing it. This isn't theory. This isn't just some idea. These are people that are actually doing it, and they're willing to tell us and show us exactly how they're doing it. So, you know, this month we've got Greg Harrelson. Now, Greg and I, we go back many, many years. In fact, I'd heard his name over and over from one of my mentors, Tony DeCello, and of course from my mother, Diana Kokoska. And they said, Sean, you remind us so much of Greg. And I hadn't met him until, Greg, how long ago was it?
It's been quite a long time, but I remember them saying everything, saying something similar to me. Man, you remind me of Sean. I just remember, I mean, they said that many times.
Yeah, me too. And when I finally got the opportunity to meet you, I guess it was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I got to tell you, he was so built up in my mind as to who this guy is. And I got to tell you, he exceeded my built up expectations. And today he's going to exceed all of yours. So Greg, welcome to our webinar today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here and just share with your group, and in hopes that maybe I can make a little difference in somebody's real estate life today.
That's what I love about you. You're so magnanimous, so giving, and so darn smart. Everybody's going to learn from you today. So let me tell you, here's what you're going to learn today. And in fact, in our pre-call, Greg, we discussed several points. We're going to talk about the role that technology should play in your business. We're also going to talk about why some realtors are experiencing a negative ROI versus a massive ROI on their ad spend dollars, or marketing dollars, right? And Greg's going to show us how he does it. We're going to talk through response time versus real time and the importance of that, and how that plays out in our industry today and in the future. You shared with me a thought, Greg, that I put on our slide deck here. It's multiple attempts and bringing it out, right? So you're going to talk us through your strategy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fired up. This is perfect. Market share versus mind share, and then how to develop a nurturing campaign that actually works. All right, so which point here do you want to talk about first, Greg?
Hey, we can start at the top. We can start anywhere you want to go.
Let's do it. Okay, right at the top. What role does technology play in your business?
I think it plays two roles. I think I think in our industry, technology plays a role in the area of helping us provide a massive amount of consumers, let's call them clients or prospects, providing them the information that they need. In other words, when we want to blow up our business and do a big business, in order to just be able to talk to every single person in our database, you'd have to have a very small database. So we've got to be able to use technology to be able to deliver the message that the consumer desires at a high level, more than we can do on just, one-on-one phone calls. I think that's number one. And then we're also going to be leveraging technology to generate leads. And a lot of people are leveraging Zillows and Realtor.coms, and I have nothing negative to say about that. But what you're doing is you're leveraging someone else's technology. You're not leveraging your own technology. And so there's a cost for that. And one of the buzzes out there is how expensive leads are getting. And one of the reasons I think leads are getting so expensive is because we are allowing someone else to leverage technology for us instead of us actually leveraging technologies for ourselves.
Gotcha. Yeah, something went sideways here. Let me do this again. Okay, we're back. All right. Well, good. Great answer, Greg, and thank you very much.
Sure.
So let me ask, why are some realtors getting a massive ROI versus those that are getting a negative ROI? Talk to me about that.
Some of these points will kind of blend together and complement each other. But what I see with lead sources, because what we're talking about is a number of leads coming in, whether you're self-generating or you're getting in some passive way, whether you're buying them or not. I think I would say leads that are being purchased, zip codes that are being purchased and leads are coming in. A lot of times you'll see that if 100 leads come in, the real estate agent will only contact around 38 to 48% of those. So 38 would be kind of, would be really low, but unfortunately is normal. And around 48% is almost the tip top. It's like when you look at agents, it's like if they got 100, if they bought 100 leads or created 100 leads through some sort of technology, they're talking to less than half of them. So when you look at your dollar spent, for those that are spending money on leads, when you look at your dollar spent and you're paying for 100, but only speaking to 38% of them, then you're going to probably have a poor ROI. So the key is when you're getting these leads, it's not just track how many people you talk to how many people you converted. You need to track how many people you've captured to how many people you've talked to. And that number needs to be 60, 70, 75%. It's probably going to be the max you can get, but 70% would probably be a good number. So if you're paying for 100 and you're talking to 70, your ROI is going to be quite different than if you're paying for 100 and talking to 38. As a matter of fact, you may have 100% more ROI just from focusing on number of contacts compared to the number of leads captured. And people are just not really focusing on that. With the agents in my office, I'm looking at that number because they're always asking me, hey, how can I grow my business? Well, let's look at this. Well, how many? Because what do you think most people say? Most people say, hey, I need more leads. Right. I need more leads. And that's what Zillow and that's what everybody wants us to say. I need more leads. So then you go buy more leads, which is not necessarily going to help your ROI if you're not talking to those leads. There's a negative ROI. So the solution typically, especially today, I don't believe the solution for growth is by needing more leads. It's going to come from having more leads. It's going to come from talking to more leads that you already have. Talking to more of the leads that you already have in your database. Everybody has people that they're not talking to. And here's what they're doing. They're coming in the morning and they're saying, okay, I'm gonna talk to my all these leads that came in the last week. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to prospect for 3 hours a day and I'm going to call them from 8 to 11. Congratulations if that's your habit. That's a fantastic habit. But then the next day you come in and you call the same list at the same time. And then Wednesday you call the same list at the same time and you see that 50% of the people are never answering. It's because they're not home at that time. So in order to increase the number of contacts that you make, the contact ratio to compared to how many you capture, contact to capture ratio, let's call it that. In order to increase that, a lot of times you have to call the same number at different times. Stop calling the same number at the same time 5, 6, 7 days in a row. They're not there. They're not there. So that it's a simple strategy to turn a negative or mediocre ROI into a massive ROI. It's just focus on the contact to capture ratio.
I love it, Greg. Love it. At the Kokoska Group, we used to have everybody in the office. We would start dialing at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday evenings, all of us together. And we would call up, clear up until past 8 o'clock p.m. And every time you scheduled an appointment, we'd go over and ring the bell and everybody would celebrate. And I got to tell you, when I was there lead generating and I had my headset on and I'd hear that bell ding, man, I got to tell you, it pissed me off. I mean, I wanted to be the next person to ring that bell, right? So yeah, there's some synergy created when you get everybody together, right?
Oh, absolutely. The buzz, just the environment. It's kind of like, when you go to the gym in the morning, if you go to the gym and you happen to be meeting a few people there, then you typically show up more often and you show up and play the game a little bit harder. You're going to work out better. You're going to run a little bit faster, a little bit longer, lift a little bit more weights, generate a little bit more sweat, or just show up more when you know somebody's there. It's no different in business.
No doubt. No doubt. All right. I love this. This is fantastic. And by the way, a lot of people, they're calling the lead back and they're saying, oh, you contacted me about such and such address. Did you get all the information? What does the prospect say?
Yes. They did get all the information because the internet gave it all.
Right. Right. So my input would be, don't call people back about the property they contacted you on. In fact, call them back about every property by saying something simple like, hey, I'm just calling to update my files and see if you're still in the market to buy a home or find out if you've already purchased something.
Yeah. I think that's really good. And I think what we have to understand is our value is not to give information. That's not our value.
Right.
That's Google's value, and they're kicking our butt at it. Okay. Our value is no longer to be information givers. It's to be interpreters. Our job is to interpret the information that they're seeing on the internet, not give it to them. They've already got it. Exactly. So don't ask them if you can give it to them. No, start explaining what all this massive amount of information that they have. Start helping them understand the information. And I think that's truly our value when we're reaching out to these people these days.
I agree with you, Greg. That's phenomenal. So let's talk a little bit about response time versus real time. Share with me your philosophy around this.
So my philosophy on this is and I understand everyone's talking about, a couple of years ago, you got to respond within, an hour, 30 minutes. And then, maybe that was 4 years ago. And then maybe, 3 years ago, it was 15 minutes. And then, 2 years ago, maybe last year, all these, bloggers and trainers are saying, hey, you've got to respond within 5 minutes. That's all BS. You've got to respond in real time. Real time. Here's what I'm figuring out when it comes to technology and internet leads. When somebody's calling, when a buyer is calling or is inquiring, they do not care which agent answers their question. They're asking a question about a property. So they don't care at that initial stage who they get. They just want to get somebody. Now that's unlike, by the way, if people are doing their homework to find an agent to list their property. Now they're being a little bit more selective, right? They actually may call Greg Harrelson and get my voicemail, and they may wait for a couple hours or the day until I call them back before they start calling other agents. But when you're talking about a buyer coming off of some sort of website, they're not calling an agent, they're calling on a property, and they know all they have to do is call this person, or not there, okay, then they hit this button. Not there, okay, and hit this button. They will keep calling and calling and calling until they get a live person to answer a question about the property. So if you really want to go back up to massive ROI versus negative ROI, this is another way to increase the number of contacts that you have from the people that you've converted. You have to be in real time, and it won't be long. And I know people are kind of talking about it a little bit in the background, and people are kind of testing and playing with it, or they're talking about it. We will have 24-hour response time, real time, 24 hours a day, responding to leads, no question about it. There's already people doing it secretly, and it will be the phenomenon moving forward. It won't be long.
Well, here, I pulled some stats on this, actually. I want to share it with everybody here. This is the real estate case study that I found. It's consumer response time expectation for all inquiries. Now, the consumer's expectation is the dark blue, and the realtor actual response time is the light blue. So check this out. And I'm going to share another point with you right when I'm done going through these stats. It's going to blow your mind, all right? So instant response, consumer's expectation, 49% of consumers expect an instant response. Now, what we found out about real estate agents is that only 8% of them respond instantly. And I got to tell you that that's probably by happenstance. It just happened that they were available right then and there. It wasn't systematic and it wasn't intentional. Now, the next point is less than 30 minutes. Now, 29% of consumers expected a response within 30 minutes. Only 7% of realtors actually responded within 30 minutes. Less than an hour, 16% of consumers expected that, and 11% of realtors did that. Less than 2 hours. Now hear this, only 4% of the consumers expected a response in less than 2 hours, meaning they were part of the other 94% or whatever the balance is. And 17% of realtors responded in less than 2 hours. Less than 4 hours, 2% of the consumers expected that, and 24% of the realtors delivered that. Same day, 0%. 0% of your consumers are happy if you respond within the same day. And that's one of the points I want to make. More than 24 hours, again, we're down to 0%. Yet realtors that responded within the first same day was 13%. And then the balance of 10% was more than 24 hours, gang. Now, here's the point I wanted to share with you that's going to just blow your mind. These stats are from 2014, gang. 3 years ago. Now, where's the market trending toward right now? And I wonder if this case study were actually updated, how high that instant response request or expectation rather would be. So what do you think when you hear all that, Greg?
Well, first of all, I feel like I got kind of lucky because I was going with my gut and speaking from my gut. Like, this is what I'm actually experiencing in the field. I've never seen this chart. Even we didn't talk about this chart. I haven't seen this chart. But I believe it 100%. I really believe that instant response, the consumers probably, I mean, I'm going to guess it's probably in 70% range, that they're actually really anticipating, that much, that many of them are anticipating instant response. I also would think that the real estate, the community in overall, we're probably getting a little bit better, but we're not actually, the expectations and the demands of the consumer are growing faster than we're adapting.
You're exactly right, and it's not your competitor's fault either. I'll tell you whose fault it is. It's companies like FedEx. I mean, let's face it.
Yes.
If I can take a document, put it in an envelope that says FedEx on it, and I ship it by 7 p.m. tonight, Greg, it could hit your office over there in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina by tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So why on earth wouldn't they expect an instant response from their realtor, right?
Excellent point. I agree 100%. I don't think that the consumer's demands are necessarily are changing because we're failing. I think other industries are just raising the bar, and now they're saying, hey, why don't we get up with the times here? Totally
agree, buddy. So back to our points here. So multiple attempts, ringing it out. Anything else you want to say about that?
With the multiple attempts, not really. It's just that I would say that we did some tracking, and we noticed that it takes a minimum of 8 attempts. If you really want to move the bar, instead of throwing more money in order to get more leads. Instead of going that route, if you want to actually really change your ROI, then start logging how many attempts and watch what happens for 1 month. If everybody who listens to this for 1 month took every single lead and made sure that they made 8 attempts at different times with that lead before they gave up, watch how many people they contact. Their number of appointments will skyrocket.
That's great advice, Greg. Great advice. All right. So market share versus mind share. Now, obviously, you can't sell over 200 homes yourself every year without creating massive mind share. First, explain the difference between market share and mind share, and then transition into, well, how did you create that mind share with your database?
Yeah, okay. So market share, I think, is pretty obvious. It's like, what share of the market do you capitalize on? Are you occupying? Are you doing business? What by a percentage? But mind share is a little bit different. Mind share is like, how much time do you actually occupy one's mind compared to other people that might be competing for their attention? So it's a competition. It's a race. It's a competition for the consumer's attention. And I think what we have to do is we have to make sure that we understand we need to win their attention before they have to do a deal, not compete for the deal. We need to actually occupy space in their mind before they even think they want to do a deal. So then when they do want to do some sort of real estate transaction and we're talking to them, we're already occupying, we have mind share. We're occupying a lot of space in their mind. Maybe they've already seen videos on YouTube about how to sell their home or the best way to negotiate a seller down on their price. Let's say I'm punching out and publishing content like that, and getting that out there, whether it be through social media, through email drips, through YouTube videos and whatnot. I'm putting a lot of information out there. I'm sending it to my database, and I'm watching what percent of people are engaging with that content. And one thing people don't know is you can go to YouTube, and you can actually, there's analytics within YouTube, and you could, publish all your videos in YouTube, and then you can go in and you can find out how many minutes for your YouTube channel, how many minutes did the consumer spend watching your video in a month. Play with that number. Go in, if you've got a video out there, go in and track, well, how many minutes did collectively did an audience watch that video? And it's probably going to be pretty low right now because you might not be pushing that content out in multiple channels. Well, so I would say your mind share is low. Okay, well then focus on pushing some more content into your YouTube videos, sharing those things out there, and go check 6 months later. And who knows? I mean, I would say, and I'm surely not, don't have a lot, but for just a real estate agent and property or company owner in Myrtle Beach, there's hundreds of hours that people are watching my videos, hundreds of hours on a monthly basis. So that, in my mind, that's me doing a presentation of some sort to the consumer for hundreds and hundreds of hours every single month without doing, while I'm sleeping, that's going on. So I'll give you one more analogy, and then I'll kind of wrap this up on this point. We've all probably seen young kids playing soccer. 6 years old, 5 years old, and the ball's rolling. One kid kicks it and it's rolling ahead, and then every single kid is chasing that ball. That reminds me of a bunch of real estate agents actually chasing for market share. But then you see that one kid over on the side that instead of like following all the other kids chasing the market share, they're anticipating where that ball's going to be. And they meet the ball at the perfect time and they kick it in. And so that's what I call mind share, is while everyone's chasing market share, I'm going to focus on mind share. And if you want to acquire and gain more market share, you've got to own the mind share of your market.
That's phenomenal. A great book that I've read about that is Positioning by Trout and Rice.
Yes.
It's my marketing Bible. And gang, it was written, 25 years ago now?
It's an old one, yeah.
The principles apply even in our digital marketing world of today. Those principles absolutely apply. and it's about owning the mind of the prospect. See, when
Mm-hmm.
they think real estate, your goal should be that they think you. And how do you do that? So
Mm-hmm.
Greg, talk to me a little bit about how you leverage technology, specifically speaking to Infusionsoft, and
Mm-hmm.
how are you tracking the clicks and the engagement and everything else?
Yeah. So with Infusionsoft and drip campaigns and whether it be email, text, or we're moving into chatbots and creating campaigns for Facebook and Facebook Messenger. It's got some really cool stuff that's coming up the channels. But I mean, here's the basics, okay? If you start to look at this, a lot of these points here, when we capture a lead, let's call them multiple times so we can make a connection, a contact, okay? But the challenge right now is that technology is allowing us to capture the lead earlier than we ever have in the history of our industry. We're capturing them like 2 years before, 1 year before they're actually thinking about really conducting a transaction. And that's very frustrating for real estate agents. So you can see why real estate agents have an issue with long-term nurture, because like, how are they going to, if they're going to get 100 leads, 200 leads, or however many leads they're going to get every month, and you stack that over 2 years, now they've got thousands of leads, right? How are they going to follow up with all these people knowing that they're capturing them so early in the game? In other words, we're capturing people now in the dreaming phase.
Love that.
Okay, we're capturing them in the dreaming phase, and real estate agents are getting frustrated because we're talking to people. No, I'm just looking. I just like to look at pictures. Well, that means they're in the dreaming phase. And what do we want to do? Oh, they're not qualified. So then we trash them. And so in other words, they're a no, they're not a yes. So what we're doing is we're trashing all the no's because they're in the dreaming phase. We don't even see that they're going to be doing anything. So the point of a good nurture campaign is to be able to put those no's into some sort of drip system. We use Infusionsoft, and drip over them for a series of years. We've got campaigns for potential sellers. Our buyer campaign is over 4 years long. We
Wow.
have a buyer campaign where we can put somebody in there, and not only will they get their typical sold searches or new property searches periodically, that's all, everyone does that, but we'll have a campaign that will actually communicate with them for 4 or more years.
Wow.
Seller leads that say, yes, I wanted a property evaluation, the little what's my home worth. Those people are just in the dreaming phase. And everyone says, oh, those leads are terrible. No, it's not that they're terrible. It's that they're in the dreaming phase, and you don't want to hang out with them long enough to actually get them to be there when they're in the buying phase. So a good nurturing campaign is one that's like this. It can drip on them for a long duration of time, so you can not only communicate in the dreaming stage, but you can be there when they turn into the buying stage. You've got to make sure that what you're sending them has value. It's got to be educational. See, if it's not educational, they're not going to tune in. And if they're not tuning in, you're not capturing mind share. You see, the mind share that I'm looking for, I'm looking to create mind share or capture mind share from all the people that tell me no. See, everybody that tells me no, I put them into my drip system. I gain mind share for the next couple of years, and then they call me and say, hey, Greg, can you come list my property? Hey, Greg, can you start showing me property? They're calling me because I'm in their minds. And here's what the key. And this was told to me by Alex Perillo, and I even told him not too long ago, thank you for this gift of a quote. And he said, if you ignore the consumer in the dreaming phase, they will ignore you in the buying phase.
That
And
resonates so clearly.
That's the whole point with nurture campaigns, is to use technology to communicate to your database as if you're communicating one-on-one, not mass emails, hoping somebody clicks on something, but communicating them with valuable content that is relevant. It's all about relevance. You got to be relevant. And then because they trust that every email they open from you is going to have relevance, it's going to matter, it's going to have value, they will stick with you. They become your audience. You have mind share. The key is to prospect. Get up, for all the people on the phone. If you don't prospect, you got to prospect, because it's hard to build a database without prospecting. Get up and prospect. Take all the people that tell you no, put them in your drip campaign, deliver them valuable information. You will turn a stranger into an acquaintance. And then eventually over time, you'll take that acquaintance and you'll make them an advocate. And then that advocate will send you referrals and do business with you whenever they're ready. That's how you start taking your leads and building a massive ROI, because there's no waste. So we do all this through Infusionsoft. We've got some really cool things where we'll do a combination of emails, with texting, with Facebook posts to custom audiences that we pull from our Infusionsoft account, and it's pretty cool stuff.
That's very cool, Greg. And Infusionsoft is a little bit cumbersome. It's a little bit challenging to use. There's no doubt about that. Yet there are many solutions out there for you guys. You know, a new one on the scene, which is shockingly inexpensive, is a company called Chime. I'd encourage you to check out Chime. Certainly there's other companies out there. Yet getting a CRM somewhere where you can drip on them in an automated fashion and then check your engagement. I mean, how many emails are they opening up from you? What are they clicking on when they get into the email? How much time are they investing with you on your site? These are all data points that are going to pay massive dividends. And it's going to tell you who's in the dreaming phase and moving into that buying or listing phase. Now, we got a couple of questions here, Greg. So let me just interrupt real quick. How often do you communicate with them over that 4-year period? What does that really look like? Because you don't want to over communicate and annoy them, right? And you definitely don't want to under communicate, because then you're not getting the mind share that you want. Is there a secret sauce?
Well, yeah, I'm going to answer that question, but let me kind of address something to make sure that I set it up correctly. You could communicate with somebody every single day and not annoy them if how you're communicating matters, it's relevant, and it has value.
Bingo. Love it.
So there is no magic sauce on the number. It's like, how many pieces of content can you actually deliver that matters? Because that's the number. You know, people ask me, well, Greg, how many videos? What do you think the average time of a video should be? You do a lot of videos, Greg. How long should videos be? As long as you can keep their attention without boring them. That's how long. I mean, I've got videos on YouTube that are well over an hour that have 15, 16,000 views on them. And then I've got videos, that are 3 minutes that have, 200 views. Obviously, I didn't do so good on those. But that's what it all boils down to. Now, to answer your question, I'm going to guess, because I wouldn't know the exact number, but I'm at least communicating to them on that long-term nurture. It would at least be once a month. Sometimes it would be twice a month, and it might be dependent on the time of the year. So let's just say a lot of people have to pay their property tax bill at a certain time of the year. So that would be an opportunity for me to remind them that they're getting ready to get their property tax bill in the mailbox. And a lot of times, the municipalities make some mistakes on your value. So if you want to dispute your value, please contact us and we'll go ahead and pull some research, and you can see if your assessed value matches the market value. And if it doesn't, we can give you the forms to go and dispute it and appeal it. You see how I'm delivering value? But I'm going to time that perfectly when I know that the property tax bills are going to show up in their mailbox. I try to time it about a week to 2 weeks before they get it in their mailbox.
Gotcha. Here's another question for you. How do you feel about farming and door knocking? Let's take farming first.
Here's what I feel. I feel actively prospecting is the name of the game. It always has been, and it always will be. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, no, Greg, well, you use all this technology. I had to build the database. How do you think I built the database? I built the database by prospecting. Now I'm just thankful that I'm actually getting a little bit of benefits for all the grind and hard work that the time that I put in for so many years. I've never been a door knocker. I can say I don't think I've ever or knocked on a door, but I have been a hardcore prospector for many years, and it's the same thing. We're coldly going out there and creating a contact. So if you're comfortable door knocking, I applaud you. It's a fantastic way to build business. I personally use the phone because it was more efficient.
Gotcha. Jerry Dalton asks, how are companies doing responses in real time? Is it via live chat on website, or what have you seen work?
Well, I don't do live chat on the website. That is something that's there, and I don't believe in it too much because I think it invites too many people that are not that serious. Okay, I think it's overwhelming how many chats we would have. So there's ways to do it. I mean, like some of our leads when they come in, depending on our websites, how we've got them set up. Sometimes we have numbers where the consumer will see a number, they'll call that number, and then I have that number programmed where it can actually go and ring 4, 5, 6. I could put any number of agents on it, but let's just choose the number 6 because I know I have one that does that. Somebody calls that number and it automatically rings 6 agents at one time, and the first agent who picks it up and pushes the number 1 actually gets that lead. So that person's calling in, and then we've got 5 real estate agents, 5 or 6. I know one of them will be available. So that's how we're doing it. So when the call comes in, we'll then turn around and broadcast it out to our team, and then whoever's the first to respond gets the lead. So majority of those are going to actually be in real time.
Right on. Well, some of our audience wants to get some examples of the type of videos you've done. Do you mind sharing your YouTube channel?
Yes, it's Real Estate Sales Solutions. Well, let's see. It's Sector 21, the Harrelson Group.
Okay.
That's the YouTube channel.
All right. And Harrelson gets spelled on the screen, gang?
That's the consumer-facing YouTube channel, where that's where I would be putting information out about property values, how to increase your how to market your property for top dollar, things like that.
Gotcha. Are you familiar with Real Geeks drip campaigns?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a big Real Geeks fan, so I'm definitely very familiar with Real Geeks. Real Geeks doesn't technically have, I don't believe they actually have drip campaigns. They have the back end of Real Geeks, which is a CRM, or the CRM portion of the Real Geeks platform has the application for drip campaigns. I don't believe they actually have content already in there. So they have the application, so you can program your own content in there. You just have to create your own content, copy and paste it, and drop it in. But yes, I've got probably 6 Real Geeks websites. So needless to say, I'm a big fan of Real Geeks.
Gotcha. Okay. So what about buyer leads that are not inquiring, just captured? What's the best practice that you've identified? What do you say, and what's the typical response time?
A buyer lead that's inquiring but not captured. I don't really get that.
Yeah, I was a little sideways about that as well. Anthony, would you mind retyping the question, please?
Yeah.
Carlos asked, does Infusionsoft, do they provide the content?
No, and I don't want this to be a promotional piece for me, but basically what I've done, and this is unfortunately I just don't allow it in my own personal market, but Dobbin Buck with Get You Wired is who is the master at Infusionsoft for real estate agents, and he has all of my content, and I allow him to give that content away for free if for real estate agents that are not in my market who are wanting to get into Infusionsoft. So Infusionsoft can be difficult, but Dobbin helped me so much. I'm actually giving him the content, and he just clones my content into your Infusionsoft account. And if you will just don't touch it, just build your database, don't mess with the content, I've already figured it out, and just let it run, you'll be very happy. There's hundreds of agents that are using my content around the country. I just don't let them do it in the market that I service.
Right, right. What do you think is the best source for leads right now? Is it Facebook ad spend? Is it Zillow? Is it Redfin? What do you think is the best source for leads?
For listing leads, I'll start there. Listing leads is prospecting, is old-fashioned, get on the phone and start making some calls, call expires, FISBOs, et cetera. It's nothing has changed. It's still the best source. Now, buyer leads, I guess that I would say there's a combination of two. I mean, the Zillow is very, very expensive. So I would say Zillow is probably one of the better paid leads. What makes Zillow, the problem with Zillow and the problem with paid leads is the agents, not the leads. So that's the problem. Is like we're paying money for these leads, but we're not calling them 8 times. We're not calling them multiple days at 3 times, 3.
All right, guys, it looks like we had a little bit of a hang up from, a little challenge with technology. We'll wait for Greg to jump back in here. He's just disappeared from sight. So bear with me. I'm going to walk you through a quick model while we're waiting for him to come back. Let me just get there real quick. I call it an ETA, and how to create a middle level of management within your organization. Now, I'm glad I had this queued up just in case something like this happened. So here we go. ETA. Now, traditionally, ETA stood for expected time of arrival. So rather, in my world, the acronym ETA stands for expectation, targets, and action. Now, this is one of the foundational models that I work with every one of my coaching clients on, because I believe that clarity is power, especially when you combine that with purpose and you have a compelling reason why you've got to accomplish the targets that you've set out before yourself. Now, this becomes a one-page simplistic business plan. Now, you might expect goal to be at the top, the word goal, right? Rather, I prefer the word expectation, because I don't know about you, yet when I set a goal, there's almost a negativity created within me, meaning, boy, I'm gonna have to work really hard to achieve that, or I might not do it, right? And it's almost a negative programming, which impacts our thoughts and leads to our feelings, and then ultimately goes to our actions and produces a result. So rather, let's use the acronym the ETA expectation. I see that Greg has joined us back. Can you hear me, Greg?
Yes, I have no idea what happened.
All right, all good, thanks. I want to just take just a second, because Greg, when you and I did finally meet, you agreed to coach me on the technology side and the marketing side, and I agreed to coach you on kind of the business building side and kind of the planning phase, and you and I went through this model. Now, it's taken a few iterations to get to the point that it is today. And Greg, you'll be excited to see some of the changes that I've made.
Good, yeah, I'm excited.
So expectation, guys, a totally different energy than the word goal, right? So expectation means I just expect myself to accomplish this. Changes the energy, right? Leads to different thoughts, different feelings, different actions, and certainly produces a different result. So what is your expectations for, say, 2017? Is it gross income? Is it total sales volume? Is it, like Greg, like the number of families you're going to help accomplish their real estate goals this year? Now, the definition of success, well, that's getting what you want. And getting clear about what it is that you want, well, that becomes your expectation. Then you outline 3 targets under each expectation. And Greg, by the way, my video went away. Am I still showing up on your side? Can you see me?
I'm seeing CEO-ETA.
And can you see my video, or is it gone?
Yes, I can see you.
Thank you. Thanks for verifying. Okay, then you outline 3 targets. Now, targets are interim expectations. They're measurable, yet they're not grounded in a singular activity. So an example of a target would be, let's say your expectation is to help 100 families achieve their real estate goals in 2017. So, and you wanted to do 50% listings, 50% buyers. So target 1 would be close 50 listing transactions. Pretty simple, right? And then you outline 3 actions. Now, actions, they are specific activities that you or one of your teammates could take to accomplish the target. So at the end of this, you get 3 targets, you've got 9 actions, and when you do the actions at a high level, the targets get accomplished. And when the targets get accomplished, the expectation is met. So then we assign by who and by when. Now, this ultimately creates your org chart, your organizational chart for your team, and I'll get there in a second. Yet, let's say that you want to hire somebody and make them a department head. Maybe you're going to put them over target 1, which would be close 50 listings. That's the who, and by when would be by the end of the year. So then And now watch this. Once you've created your ETA, then that creates the department head's ET, and it's up to them to develop the A's, right? So it's top down at first, yet then it's bottom up. So just real quick, watch this again. So the target one becomes the expectation of your department head. Action one becomes target one, and action two is target two, and so on and so forth. And again, top down at first, yet then it becomes bottom up, and you meet in the middle because the department head, the person who is over closing 50 listings, they outline their specific actions, assigning by who and by when. So it creates alignment within your organization. Target two, same thing, would be like close 50 buyer side transactions. That would be your lead buyer's agent. And then, of course, you outline their actions, which becomes their targets, and then they outline their own actions, right? And then target three would be around transaction management. Now, every one of these points must be measurable gain because we can't manage what we don't measure. And I said this develops your org chart, right? Because the top circle on a hierarchy org chart would generally be like the CEO, right? Or the founder, or whatever the case is. Rather, in that top circle, let's just put the E from your ETA, your expectation, because gang, that represents you on your org chart. And then your direct reports become target one, the person over listings, target two, the person over buyers, and target number three, the person over your transaction management. And then anything that happens below that line of your middle level of management, well, that's not necessarily your job. Now, is it? When you've empowered the right people, then they will grow the organization. So I had that queued up, Greg, just in case something technologically wise went sideways. So I thought, well, walk them through this model here real quick. And
that's awesome. That's
by the way, if you like that model, gang, and you're maybe just a little bit confused or sideways on what the E should be, what the T's should be, or what the A's should be, again, feel free, reach out to us. I mean, it's free. Strategy session, just text icon strategy to that 5-digit number, 72727 if you're in the US, or if you're in Canada, 555444. So Greg, let's get back to our points here.
Okay, let's do it.
And let me see if I can get there real fast. Here we go. All right, and apologies everybody for the disruption in the webinar. Yet glad we had that queued up, huh, buddy?
Yeah, way to be prepared.
No doubt, no doubt. So are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Yeah, sure.
Let me ask, who has been alive or dead today, who has been an inspiration to you from afar?
From afar, do you mean like somebody that I don't know that I just was an observer of?
Yeah, an observer of, maybe a mentor from afar, or somebody. Who comes to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that Mike Ferry has been the guy that's probably made the most difference, for me in my real estate career, my life, and quite frankly, I mean, if it wasn't for the things and the relationship that I've had with him, I don't think I'd be where I am. I know I wouldn't. So I always have to just be thankful for that relationship and that mentorship.
Fantastic. So having a coach, how important has that been to you in your career?
I've had a coach probably I have not been without a coach for probably 18 years.
Wow. And what does a good coach do for you?
I think what they do is they listen for our BS. They ask questions so we can doubt all the explanations that we're giving them. And then they can challenge us to actually take action and hold us accountable to the things that we say we're going to do, the things that we say that we want in business, the things that we say we want outside of business, just in our personal lives. A coach to me is just got to ask good questions, dive deep, and constantly question the student. And because when you start asking me questions, my coach starts asking me questions, I'll either talk myself into what I believe, or I'll talk myself out of what I thought I believed. And so it's like Phil Jackson. He didn't teach Michael Jordan how to play. He got Michael to play above a level that Mike may have played if he didn't have him as a coach.
Excellent analogy. I love it. Now, what would you say to a real estate agent who wants to double their business this year?
Um, in today's world, I would say you need to start prospecting. And obviously, I'm making an assumption that you're not prospecting, because prospecting is becoming a lost art in our business. The new generation of realtors or real estate agents that are coming in the business are not being taught how to prospect. They're being taught how to actually buy leads. And it's the perfect scenario if you're one of the big companies on Wall Street that are actually selling leads. It's the perfect scenario. And so what I would say is actually do the things that we know are proven. They're duplicatable. You can repeat them, and they'll give you proven results. All the other stuff that you're doing is an add-on. It's just an add-on to a foundation based on prospecting. So that's what I would say. And if you're already prospecting, then then role play more. Make sure your skills are honed in so you can get more out of the contacts that you're making.
Wonderful. Now I want to understand how you think here real quick, and this question helps me understand that. You're chosen to give a commencement speech. What is your topic?
Probably finding your why. You know, what's going to keep you going day after day after day. I mean, in the real estate business, for those that are really doing well, you're probably repeating the same task over and over and over again. You found something that works, and you actually repeat it over and over and over again, right? Well, then you're going to get what? That's going to be boring. It's repetitious, boring. So how do you wake up alive and fired up every day to go in and to lead others or just lead yourself? You know, knowing that the task that you're going to be doing is boring. So I think, you know, I would probably talk a little bit more of identifying, like, why do I still get up? What is this all about? Why am I doing this?
I love that answer, Greg. You know, and that made me think of just a quick digression, quick analogy, if you will. Imagine that I had a board that was, say, 400 feet long. It's thick enough to support your weight, and it's say 5 times the width of a normal balance beam, right? And it's 6 inches up off the ground. And let's say I'm at one end of that board and you're clear at the other end. And I say, if you can walk across this board without falling off either side, then I'm going to give you $10,000 in cash. Well, of course, everybody would just jump on that board, walk across it, and get their $10,000, right? Yet
Sure.
Let's change the circumstance just a little bit. And let's say you took that same board and you went from, say, one 20-story building rooftop to another 20-story building rooftop, and you're on one building and I'm on the other. I say, hey, if you could walk across this board without falling off either end, I mean, very few people would take that risk, right? Especially if it's windy. Or if it's raining.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I would walk across that board for 10,000. Can I share like an analogy that I use in my office?
Yeah, yet let me finish this thought just real quick.
Okay.
Because I want to drive the point home. Now imagine though, you're on one building rooftop, same board, and on the other building rooftop is your 18-month-old toddler who just learned to walk. And that building, by the way, is on fire. Smoke all around that poor little baby. I would venture to guess that every single person on this webinar, and there's darn near 1,000 of us, every one of us would figure out how to get across that. See, when the why is powerful enough, the how, it simply shows up. So I'd encourage you, like Greg, get in touch with that. What motivates you? Why is it important for you to accomplish that target or that expectation that you set for yourself? And when you get clear on that, you've got a powerful plan to make it happen. I believe nothing's going to stop you. Thanks for bringing that up, Greg.
Yeah, that is perfect. That's awesome. Because I would cross the board for my 18-month toddler.
You and me both.
But not for 10,000.
No, not for 10,000. No. Anything above 3 stories, if you fall, it doesn't matter anymore, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, let's see. Several other questions have come in. What was the person's name that had your content, Greg? Is it kind of broken out?
Yeah, Dobbin Buck with Get You Wired. Get you, the letter U, wired.com.
Okay, question here. This is a good one. What is the minimum criteria for adding someone to your database, and how often will you call them?
What is the minimum what?
Criteria to add somebody to your database. And how often do you call them?
So the minimum criteria is if they're breathing. Okay. So if we've had a conversation with them, then we would add them to the database. Now the key is the database is broken down into segments. So are they a buyer? Are they a potential buyer, or are they a potential seller? Are they a potential buyer who's going to buy within the next 6 months or 2 years? So it depends on the segmentation, how I'm going to segment that. Is it a person that has no thought of selling, but they own a piece of property in a community in my area? Will I put them in my database? Absolutely, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to systematically send them updates on what's going on in that community. Now, I'll do that through automation, through Infusionsoft, but remember, my job is to gain mind share, and I need to gain mind share from within the people who are not even thinking about doing deals if I want to actually really excel in market share later on.
Right. That's awesome. Great job. And great answer. Here's a couple others. I'm just going to rapid fire them at you.
Yeah.
Buyer leads that are captured, they're using the Commissions Inc. platform. Said they're not asking to be called. What would be your response time, and what would you say?
So when somebody says, please don't call me?
Yeah, I think they're just registering. They're not expecting a phone call in this case.
I'd call them.
Yeah, why not, right? What would you say?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'd just call them up and just see how I can help them. I mean, they're taking a step to register.
Right.
Okay. What that means is they're raising their hand. And I believe I could better serve them by talking to them than I can communicating to them, because what am I going to do? List like 20 questions that I want to ask them over an email? Then they're going to go dark on me. My first attempt is going to be to call, and my second attempt is going to be to call, and my third attempt is going to be to call, and then I'll default to emailing them, and then I'll start calling them. I got to get to 8 times. Right. So the key is, here's what's happening. For all the leads that you're not calling, your competition is. And so then you're wondering, why the heck do these people not ever respond? Because they're not going to respond to your emails because they're already in relationship with another agent, because that agent actually called and you got the negative ROI and they got the massive ROI.
Gotcha. That's a great answer. I remember when I was managing our buyer team and a lead would come in that had an email address. And I can't tell you how many times the person just elected to email them. I thought, no, call them. There's a phone number. Pick up the darn phone. Call them.
100%.
Called it home with an email. I don't know about you, Greg. You?
I probably have. Especially in Myrtle Beach, right? With a resort market, I might have done it once or twice.
Oh, there you go. Good job. All right. Could you finish answering the best buyer lead source in your opinion, whether it be Zillow or Realtor.com, or what do you think that is?
My real answer is I don't think that there is necessarily a best one. I think they're all the same leads. I mean, I have multiple websites. Okay. I may capture, and I do some Zillow work too. So I may capture a lead in Zillow that I've also captured in MyrtleBeachRealEstate.com, that I've also captured in C21, the HarrelsonGroup.com. So they're all the same people. It's really a matter of, it's the agent that needs to improve. It's not the lead source. So I don't think that, and I personally cannot tell you that I have noticed that one lead source is that much better than another lead source. The solution to a lead source that's underperforming is the agent's activities. It's not the lead source itself.
I agree with you 100%.
I wish I could answer that differently, but I've got to be as real as I can, because that's my answer.
Gotcha. Here's a great question that came in from Christy. She said, is your market experiencing a lot of for sale by owners that are trying to go out and sell their home on their own due to the market demand, and or experiencing sellers going only with the agent that offers the lowest commission? If so, how are you retaining your fair share and still capturing listings? Great question, Christy.
Yeah, so there's plenty of for sale owners in our market. I think that's happening just about in most markets across the country.
Yeah.
And and I think you can for sale buy it on your own and sell the property, or you can hire me and I can sell it for top dollar. You choose. Either way, the job's going to get done. It's just a matter of the amount of money you're going to put in your pocket when it's all over. Okay, so that's my mindset going into a for sale owner. I'm not going to try to tell them they can't do it. I know they can do it, but they're just not going to be able to do it and probably outperform what I'm going to do for them. So that's one thing. And yes, are there commission cutters? There's commission cutters everywhere in our market. Sellers are not looking for the lowest commission. They're looking for the best value. And how they determine value is your presentation. If you're confident and you're knowledgeable in your presentation, they will not go after somebody just because they cut the commission. They understand. So when somebody's asking me to cut the commission, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm sorry, Sean. I really appreciate you asking me to cut the commission. And what just became very evident to me is I have not communicated the value that I'm really going to bring to this transaction. So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about that. And when I'm done, then here we are. It's not a commission issue. It's a value issue. And of course, a lot of real estate agents don't have a written marketing plan. They don't have a strategy. And so they have a hard time demonstrating and conveying their value. And when they have a hard time it's much easier to make commission cutting your value than it is to actually, say, this is my value, this is my strategy, this is what I'm going to do for you, this is what you can expect, these are the results. I average over 1% more in sales price than my competition. So they're going to save 1%, but 1% is still going to be in the hole compared to what I'm going to get them on average.
Love it. Great job. Okay, here's a couple other questions came in. Well, this one came up 6 times. What was the name of the firm that does the real estate content for Infusionsoft again?
Get You Wired. Dobbin Buck, Get You Wired.
Get You Wired with the letter U. Okay, gotcha. Yes. What if they say they have an agent? Do you still pursue them or hands off?
What does that mean? Everybody's got an agent, right? I mean, are they under contract with that agent, or this like, oh, I've got a friend in the business? Well, we kind of know that, right? That's just everyone's got a friend in the business, and I maybe say, well, if is your friend a good enough friend that they'd want you to hire the very best agent for the job of doing of selling your property?
I love that.
I mean, it's like if they're under contract, no, I'm staying away. If they've got a listing agreement or something like that, it's hands off. But until they've got, here's the key for whoever answered that question. If you believe that you're the best qualified to do the job that seller is asking, then it's your duty to give them every opportunity to hire you. And in the event that they are not under an agreement with somebody else, then you need to keep fighting for them. You're not fighting for yourself. You're fighting for them. But you have to believe in your heart that you're the most qualified for that job. And if you're the most qualified, then you need to fight for them and make sure that they have an opportunity to experience what you have to offer.
Very great answer, Greg. Thank you. We've all experienced this, I think, in some degree within our careers. How do you deal with call reluctance? The person goes on to say one of the main issues that prevent so many of us to be more successful is, in fact, call reluctance. How do you get over that?
It's about your why. Why are you doing this? I remember when I was years ago when I was making 60 contacts a day and I was double dialing. There was no Mojo and all these things and technology out there for mass dialers. And I was old school headset with 2 phones on the headset, and I'm working 2 lines at one time physically dialing, and I'm dialing 60, 80 contacts a day, not attempts, actually talking to that many people manually. And on my left-hand corner in my station, I had two of my children as the picture of two of my children. And that picture was angled perfectly while they were kind of looking at me. The picture had their faces staring at me. And I just remember like saying multiple times, am I being the example that I want to set for my children? And so it was like an anchor. When I saw that picture, it just anchored that thought in my mind. Am I going to walk away and do half the job I'm supposed to do? What kind of example am I setting? See, I was really connected early on to what mattered to me. I wasn't there making contacts to make contacts. I was there making contacts to provide what I wanted to provide for the people that I love so much. And so call reluctance is all about me. And if your business is all about you, then that's going to be tough. You're going to have days where you're just not going to want to go in. But when it's all about them, it makes it a lot easier. So find out who them is or what that is for yourself.
Gotcha. Excellent input, no doubt about it. And really, part of that is, pleasure and pain, and how those two forces kind of push and pull us and dictate our actions every day. And if you've got call reluctance, well, then it's time for a switch cost, meaning focus on the pain of not prospecting instead of the pain of, or the perceived pain of prospecting. The perceived pain is rejection. Somebody hangs up on the phone with you. You get that sick feeling in your stomach, right? Nobody likes that. Yet, what's the pain of not prospecting? And when you can get real clear about that pain and you focus your energy and attention on the pain of not prospecting, and you get to focus on the pleasure that you gain from doing it, right? And when you do that, gang, that call reluctance, it just melts away.
Yeah.
So start using pain and pleasure instead of allowing pain and pleasure to use you. Another question, do you work with buyers without a buyer agency agreement, or do you require it?
Well, I'm not out there personally showing property, so I'm not working with buyers personally. But I'm of the school of thought of that. I would not be requiring it. If I was working with buyers, I would not be requiring it. There's no question about it. But I am so confident that I would deliver the value proposition so well that they would be wanting to work with me. So I just don't believe that the buyer's agreement really is a way to gain loyalty from other people. I think its connection is the way to gain loyalty. Now, I could debate this with other people that believe in the buyer agreements, and I can't say that they're wrong. I think that there's some compelling reasons as to why you should do it. But for myself, and I'm answering it from myself, I am just so confident in my abilities and the values that I bring to the table that, you know what, if they want to be disloyal to me, go ahead and let them. They're not the perfect client for me.
Gotcha. Well, and I agree with that, yet at the same time, to have the agency agreement allows you to negotiate on their behalf, right?
I can negotiate on their behalf. Well, we're all going to have the agency agreement at some point.
Right. There you go. Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you for I think that was important to clear that up. Yes. That agreement's going to be signed, but I'm not like, okay, the first contact, I'm rushing to get them into the office to go ahead and get them to sign this thing, or else I get discouraged and don't want to work with them. I'm not approaching it that way.
Okay. Several people are chiming in saying they can't hear the audio. Other people are saying that they can. Again, I apologize for any technical issues, gang. Let's see. All right, that's almost the end of our questions here, buddy. Ooh, good question.
Comes in at the last minute, doesn't it?
Yeah. How would you tell a broker that is old school to step up his or her game to mind share instead of market share?
How would you tell a broker to step up their game? Wow, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. You know, I'm not sure what the broker's role in mind share is when it comes to your personal business. I think that is something you want to take on your own. But but I can feel the question, and it's such a good question because I'm an owner of a few companies, and I'm not a broker, but I am an owner. I just choose to not be a broker in charge. And I do believe that our industry, as owners, brokers, and managers, we need to step up and play a more significant role in supporting our agents and helping and bringing the technology to you, the agent, that allows you to leverage that technology and gain more mind share. So like for Infusionsoft, for me, I've built out Infusionsoft. I didn't build out Infusionsoft for Dobbin to be able to use my content. I built out Infusionsoft as an owner of the company that wanted to solve a problem for agents, and that was produce content that has value and give it to all the agents in my office that work with me for free, so they can then leverage that technology, grow their own mind share, and grow their and eventually capture market share. So I didn't really answer the question. I do see that that's a very important role, and I would say if you want somebody to do something they're not doing, then use inspire them. Figure out a way to go do it yourself and inspire them by being an example, and watch how they'll follow your lead later on.
Very cool. All right, Greg. Well, we're wrapping up to the end of our time that you've been so kind with and giving to all of us today. What kind of final parting thoughts do you have for everybody in the webinar?
You know, the main thing that I worry about when I talk about technology, okay, is I worry that, you know, here I am talking to all these agents that are, you know, wanting to aggressively get into technology, secretly wanting to get into technology because they think that that's the answer. And they don't have to actually focus on the fundamentals of working of prospecting and getting into the office early and self-generating. So I want to say, none of the things that we do with technology could we have done if we didn't actually build the database by prospecting of some sort early on. So I just want to make sure that my message is not, you don't have to prospect, just go get Infusionsoft or Real Geeks or whatever, Chime. That's not my message. My message is go old school and take all the people that you talk to, put them in your database, nurture on them, follow a few of these other fundamental things that we talked about, and your business is going to blow up. But in absence of a generating foundation, I don't believe technology is going to do much for you.
I agree 100%, Greg. Well, great job, buddy. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I believe everybody on this webinar has as well. I could tell by the retention rate how many people have stayed on with us this entire time. Way to go, Greg. It's always a pleasure, my friend. I definitely look forward to our next conversation, and I hope to see you at the ICON conference next year in April. It's going to be a blast.
Well, Sean, thank you for allowing me to contribute to the industry. I'm so thankful for what this industry has done for me, and this is just my little payback, you know. And I will continue paying back until I can't pay back anymore.
All right, buddy. Thank you. God bless. Godspeed, and everybody who's here. Be on purpose, be productive, and be powerful. Talk soon. Bye bye.